Christmas, Sonik didn't send me any frankincense or myrrh, but thankfully they did send me some gold in the form of these Xtractor Pro 5000 GS reels, and I've paired them up with some of the new Xtractor Pro rods today as well. The setup, as you can see, is probably a little bit higgledy-piggledy, so I will go into exactly what I've got with me today in a second. But before we jump into the video, please make sure you subscribe to us and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any future uploads from us on YouTube. And also follow us on all the different social media platforms coming up on the bottom of your screen right now. Now, you may have already seen some of this setup in the Sonik trade show video that we did probably a month or two back. If you haven't, then I'll give you all the details you need to know about now. So we'll start off with the reel because it's the flashiest, nicest looking thing of this whole setup, in my opinion anyway. And that's the Xtractor Pro 5000 GS. Now the GS stands for gold spool, quite self-explanatory. And there's also a little abbreviation on the front of the reel, on the clutch, which is QT, which stands for quick torque. That's in relation to how much it takes to turn from free spool to lock solid. I gotta say, it's nice and progressive. I have had a couple of fish today. I'm filming this bit at the end of the session, and I've had 3 fish today, and it's quite nice and progressive. So I've had it from in its state at the moment, where if I get a take, it can take some line, pick up, and a slight turn, and I'm into a perfect play-in sort of action through that reel. So that's really nice as well. But a couple of little differences from this reel to its previous iteration is it now has a worm shaft gear ratio within it. I think that's the terminology. So basically there's less effort is needed for the same or increased amount of torque and speed. So it's nice and smooth, easy to actually retrieve. And the gear ratio is ever so slightly different. The previous iteration was 4.4 to 1. This is 4.7 to 1 gear ratio. So whether you'll notice that in real world terms, it depends how fast you're reeling, but it should theoretically bring in line slightly better than before. And talking of line, it will actually hold slightly more as well. I think I've talked about this in a casting segment in a second, which we'll get onto, but it does hold slightly more line than the previous models. And another addition to this reel is excuse me. This is actually the reel I'm not talking about. This is just a reel I had in the shed because Sonik only sent me one of their new reels because they're so new. I don't think they have that many in. So this is actually a Tornos on the Xtractor Pro 10 foot, 3.5 pound this rod. So I haven't actually had a fish on this yet today. But towards the end of my session, and it's quite conveniently, this one's gone off. But anyway, talking about the other reel, as I think I was talking about the floating line rotor. So what that does is it's underneath the spool. So if I give this as an example, fish is taking some line. As I reel up, where has he gone? He's got to make sure he's not going too far right. Underneath the spool, there's a line rotor. I'm talking about this reel, but this one does have it as well. So if the line was to get a little slack and go underneath, there's no chance, or drastically reduces the chance of line going up under that spool, getting caught up and snarled up. So that's quite nice. It's got that feature. I'm probably gonna have to stand up because this fish is going fairly right. But that is pretty much the reels covered. Now moving on to the rods, I've played fish on this one, and this is the first one I've had on this. Now this is the 10 foot, 3.5 pound, which is slightly stiffer. It is going down this margin, so I'm gonna have to stand up and pull this round. So it's slightly stiffer, but because it's longer, I'd actually say the playing action on this one, I know it's a different fish, it feels slightly bigger. The other fish I've had today have all been quite small. This feels like a lovely playing action, really smooth bend. I'll see if I can get it on camera. It's going down the margin here, look. You can see how progressive the curve is on that. I'm just gonna lean forward, it's going right down the edge as they all do. I can feel it on the branches. Come on. So I'm having to give this fish quite a bit of stick. Considering it's probably not a very big fish, which it is, and I've just seen it come up. It's giving me some stick under these branches. And I think he's free. Oh my days. Bit bigger, but not the prettiest. So I'm going to unhook him, slip him back, and then we'll talk a bit more about the rods in the range. Ooh. Well, that was pretty much a double take. Just unhooked the first one, he's still in the net. I've got 2 in the net now. So I'll get them both back out, then I'll talk about the rods. Good fun. Well, after that rather manic 5 or 10 minutes, I've got the rods back out. And already the left-hand rod has just gone off. It was all on film. I was filming this next sequence, but for some reason I've had a mic issue, so the audio was terrible. But I have got another fish resting in the net, which I will deal with in a second. But I need to talk to you about these rods before I get the rod back out, because as fun as this is, I do have a job to do and I need to get some information across. So the rod's available in the Xtractor Pro range. Biggest difference being is that you can get it either in a cork handle or a shrink wrap handle, and the only difference with that is, or availability in each range, is that the shrink handle is available as a 9 foot 2 3/4, whereas that's not available in the cork range. All the rest is available, so from 9 foot £3 all the way up to 10 foot £3.5 is available in both models. And the ones I've got with me today is the 9 foot £3 cork handle, and this is a 10 foot 3.5, so quite different rods. I do put this setup through its paces a bit more with casting in a second, which I'll get onto, but for now that's the main cosmetic differences. The reel seat is an 18mm black DPS reel seat, and the ringing pattern is also slightly different. I forgot to add is that anything at £3 or below comes with a 40mm ringing pattern all the way through, which is what I've got on the left, whereas the right hand rod, which is a 10 foot 3.5, has a 50mm butt ring and adjacent or corresponding ringing pattern. So anything from over £3 test curve will be with a 50mm butt ring and ringing pattern. So that's one thing to note. The actual aesthetics of these rods is really nice as well. They look higher end than what you'd maybe expect from the Xtractor, because you've got a lovely black anodized butt cap on the bottom. You've got these lovely blue whippings from the reel seat, just above the reel seat and where the rod retracts into itself, around the eyes. So all the little ringing patterns and things, you've got this lovely blue whipping colour, which is something that you maybe expect on a higher end rod, those sort of custom aspects, but it's now available as standard in these rods. You also got a line clip built in. Now some rods, again higher end, sometimes don't come with these, and I use them quite heavily in my fishing now. And when I go to a rod that doesn't have them, I just think, why has it not been included? Because it's such a small little addition, which is really handy, that I think all rods should really come with them, and these do, and they are line friendly. I've been using them all day and not once have I had any kind of line kink or any issues with that, and I'm using quite heavy duty line. I think it's even £22 mono. It's just the line Sonik sent me, so I stuck it on. So it's quite thick and strong line, and that's not been getting any issues with going under that line clip or getting damaged, so that's really nice. I think that's pretty much the rods and reels covered. I did do a little bit of a casting test earlier on, which I'll cut to now, and that was with using the gold spool reel and the 9 foot £3 rod to my left. Now back to the very start of the session, before I actually get the rods out to fish for the afternoon, I want to see how they actually perform when casting them. So spooled up on here, I think it's actually £22 line, so it's very heavy duty. But my reasoning behind that is, well, one, that's the line Sonik sent with the reel, so I put it on. But also, I think a lot of people use a shorter retractable setup for smaller, more intimate venues, maybe snaggy spots that you can't get a bigger rod into. So maybe a higher gauge line is actually what most people are going to be using on their reels, because they're fishing in situations which require a heavier duty line. So it is pretty heavy duty line through there. I think I said heavy duty enough there. That's going straight through just to a lead for this casting test before I put my rigs on and everything. And this is the 9 foot £3 cork. So it's not by no means the stiffest in the range, but also it's not quite the weakest at the 2 3/4 that's available in some of the range. So I'm just going to give this a bit of a test. I have already had a little cast just to bed the line in, because that's more of a fair test rather than first cast after spooling up. And I've clipped up to the far margin. I'm not going to be fishing there today. It was just to show how this actually performs. So for a 9 foot £3, it shows that you can still cast this rod out a fair old distance if the fish showed a slightly bigger range. So I've got the camera on the floor focused on the far margin, that reed line. As you can see, perfect. I probably actually focused slightly to the right on that camera, but as you can see, it hit the clip pretty hard, and I give that a good 60 to 70 yards, I reckon. So it's a decent distance. I'll take that back out of the clip. So I'll leave it in because I want to get a few more B-roll shots of the clip in action, because it's got 2 line clips either side of this reel, so you can clip up at multiple distances, and they're nice and line friendly. They're not those cheap plastic little ones that some cheaper reels can have, so they're much more line friendly, cushion that cast nicely, and the retrieval is pretty good as well. I think it's ever so slightly better retrieval ratio than the previous one by like 0.3 or something of a ratio. There's not a huge difference in retrieval rate, but the spools do hold slightly more line as well. I'll go through that, or maybe put that below the actual amounts of line that you can put onto this. Let's have one more cast, because it shows it's consistent in casting that sort of range, even with the crosswind. There's plenty of reserves in that. See, I'm smacking the clip way before it's even hitting the distance I need to. So if you wanted to fish even further than that, you probably could do. But it shows that you could fish at range, but that's not exactly what retractable rods are designed for. But more and more people are going to retractable rods, 9 foot, 10 foot, as their go-to all-rounder rods for everywhere. So it's nice to know that you can cast further distances. Now at the point you're watching this video, our big retractable rod comparison video should have already gone up. So if you haven't seen that, spoiler alert, the Sonik Insurgents actually came out on top from all the tests that we did, including value for money at the point of filming. The Xtractors did really, really well for the value for money, because I think the previous ones were around the 35 quid mark at the point of filming. These are a bit more expensive, which I'll get onto in a second, but it does show already that this is an improvement on that one, because it didn't quite do as well as we liked in the previous test on the big comparison video. But I can already tell, because it's only about a month after we've done this video, this Xtractor Pro is definitely a big step up in casting capability, and it's the general feel of the rod. So it's got the different name on there, it's certainly got the different feel and actual performance aspects as well. Back from the casting test, and here's fish number 5 of the day. Not the biggest, but certainly the nicest looking. And I really don't think you can complain at 5 bites, or 5 landed, 6 bites in early January. First session of the year, 5 fish under the belt, very happy. And all thanks to a little bit of gold and some Xtractor Pros. So I hope all this information I've given you today is helpful if you're looking to get some new retractable rods in the new year. Do head over to the Sonik website for any more information that you may need. I'm going to sit this one back, get the rod back out, and hopefully have a few more. And also remember to subscribe to us if you haven't already done so, and follow us on all the social media platforms on the bottom of your screen right now for regular updates. Get you back, get that rod back out, maybe number 6.